You haven't had a chance to review the game film. What are your impressions of your defense's performance?
I thought we made some improvements. It was good to see the turnovers came at great times. The way we started the game, AJ and John rushing the quarterback, getting after the quarterback was really good to see. I thought we played better for longer than we did the first week. Came out after half, continued to play at a pretty high level in the fourth quarter. We started, we got to play. I told the kids we got to play as long as it takes. The scoreboard, the time on the clock is really irrelevant. We're going to play until it goes to until the whistle blows and they don't tell us to play anymore. So that's something that we have to continue to improve on. And they made improvements. I thought we did a better job tackling. I thought we played with better effort and played with better enthusiasm throughout the first three quarters.
How well has Jamal adapted to cornerback?
That was his first live opportunity. We've been bringing him along as fast as we can and as fast as he can handle. That's, some of those processes aren't as quick as some people might think. There's a lot of there's a lot of technique and a lot of variables that go in. We can make it a little bit easier with paring down some of the calls, so we can let those guys get in with a little less, I guess, repetitions under their belt. But it was good to see him. That was a great play. The ball got thrown in the air. It was a jump ball situation. It was good to see him go up and win that play.
With all the tackles for loss that you're leading in the SEC, how does that lead to more turnovers because there's so much pressure in the backfield?
Well, I think part of it is getting in better down in distances. I think if you want to be a good third down team, which we have a long way to go, the best way to be a good third down team is be a good 1st and 10 team. You're not in 2nd and 5s. You're in 2nd and 9s or 2nd and 11s, which, when they get behind the sticks, it makes it a little easier to call plays. And, you get some friendlier situations for those 3rd and mediums and 3rd and longs.
Seems like LSU may be playing a couple different quarterbacks. How does that, how does that affect your game planning and things, knowing that 2 different guys can be out there?
Well, I think that's really for the coaches. That's for me to handle. The guys have to prepare. For them, they have to play the call as we coach it up, and then it's for the coaches to, if we want to change the way we call things, then we got to change the defense, not change the technique within that particular defense. So I heard some things, of who's going to play. To me, I know they're going to put 11 good players out there, and for us to go out and be successful, we all have to really play well together and execute and play at a very high level for, again, as long as it takes.
You mentioned AJ defensive line of the week in the SEC, but particularly he seems like he's sort of been maybe one of the tone setters for guys out there on the field. Is that a fair observation?
I think so. The production is, you can't argue the production, and we've talked about in the spring we're looking for people that produce, not just participate. We can find anybody to go out there and play 60 snaps, but to go out there and impact the game and produce in ways that help us win. He's done a great job of that. I thought he's done a very nice job of executing the techniques and then playing with the flexibility of making some of those decisions in the pass game where you let a more veteran guy, you give him a little more flexibility into what he sees and let him, it's almost, it's an imagination sometimes of getting those guys the parameters. Hey, this is what you can do. If you see this, you have these options, and then let him go out and make his plays.
How much has 8 months or so? What have you seen him working on in particular to get where he is?
I think he's been very consistent, in practice, and I think you see him. The technique, I think Bake's done a nice job with him in terms of technique in developing some of those things. He's had a lot of experience getting to this point, but I think it's if he can continue on playing at the level at which he's at, I think he's going to, walk away and really be somebody that's remembered here for a long time.
How much has the 3-4 kind of benefited AJ?
I think it's benefited all those guys. I think when you don't sit in one front, I think it causes some problems for the offense. It's as much as it's a challenge for us to prepare for multiple fronts and multiple personnel teams. I think there's something to it on from the offensive side of the ball. You start some subtle differences in fronts and the subtleties in which we move or play our guys with technique. I think it's a challenge. It's from 4 down to 3 down to you see full movements and technique and half movements, and then to 3rd down we've shown a few different pictures. So I think to give them a little bit of unpredictability is going to make everyone appear to make a few more plays.
What is it about DeAndre Ward makes him so useful? Fourth quarter, especially, with a lot of second half snaps there.
Yeah, I feel great. You know, he and JT, I think they were almost 50-50 on their snaps. And I feel, you know, comfortable with them because they're both huge parts of special teams. So I think they get a chance to play off each other, knowing they don't have to go for 70 plays. So I think that's where you see those guys play with a really high effort level. Dre is a smart guy. He's gotten more physical even since I've been here. And then, you know, as he's continued to get better, you see him, you know, earn more opportunities to be on the field. And he and JT are being, they're a very good complementary duo at that star position. And you're seeing, if you combine their production, that particular position is doing well for us.
What kind of challenges does facing a back like Fournette present?
You know, it's, you know, the elite backs. I mean, it's not about one guy tackling. You know, I think the elite backs are, they do a nice job schematically, but it's really, it's the physical challenge of when you make contact, is the play over? You know, I think that's the greatest challenge for him. He has the ability to bounce things and create, not first downs, but he can hit home runs where you don't think home runs are going to be available. And I think for us, it's yards after contact and how many hats we can get to the ball to. You know, it's 11 on 1. There's one ball and 11 of us.
How important was it to get Nick and Jeffrey back in the middle and to get that push in the middle and go forward to this week against LSU run game?
You know, they both have a real good physical skill set, which, you know, when we play some of our particular fronts, those are tough one-on-one matchups. And it was good to see Jeffrey play very physical, and it was good to get Nick back and, you know, continue to give us some rotation and some depth. And, you know, the more players that we have the opportunity to play up front, I think the better we're going to be in the long term.
What did Jeffrey do that allowed him to have some success and some tackles for loss for us on goal?
I thought he came out and embraced, you know, he played with what, in my opinion, what he should. You know, a physical, knockback, violent game. He didn't overthink it a lot of times. When you see freshmen get on for the first experience, there's thought, there's indecision, you know, and we tried to help him a little bit and hey, these are the calls, and try to not to give him the full menu and just let him really play up to what we think his strengths are. And you know, it was great to see him make some plays, especially early in the game.
When did you know that he was going to actually play this season and there wasn't a redshirt possibility?
Boy, you know, camp, you know, he's one of those guys physically that, you know, if they can pick it up in a timely fashion, you know, I think just the physical nature of the SEC and you know, as a defensive lineman, those guys are, you know, they're few and far between to come in as freshmen and have the physical attributes of being ready to play. So, you know, we didn't have necessarily a timetable. I think I don't particularly think there's a first or second game finish line to get freshmen ready. The season's long, and I think some guys take a few more weeks, but ultimately they can have a big impact on the season.
Just kind of a general football question. When you're preparing for a running quarterback, how does that differ from maybe, you know, a running back when the running game's surrounded by a quarterback or key on a running back? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the legit running quarterback with quarterback design runs is a real challenge. You know, I thought South Carolina schematically did some things that are going to give people some fits. You know, with the McElwain, with the younger player in there. You know, he moved the chains on us a few times. Just, you know, there are a few times where the numbers are right, the fits are right, but, you know, he just escaped. So a lot of that has to do not necessarily how the kids play, but how they play the calls and how the play caller gets those calls in. And then, you know, there's some guys that want to play, you know, middle open and quarters to quarterback runs, and some people want to close the middle field and play man and try to box everything in. So you could probably ask 10 different coaches and you might get 5 different opinions either way of how they wanted to stop quarterback runs.
Is it different with running backs? There's kind of a one way that kind of defensive coordinators would agree how to stop a running back. Is that where the difference kind of
No,
lies?
I don't. I think there's differences everywhere.
Okay.
You know, I think there's so much with your background and a lot of times what you have available on your menu. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you might not carry things that you feel good about, but there's not enough, I guess there's not enough warranted to invest tremendously if you're only going to get to use it, you know, 1 week out of the season.